Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 Early Access. We're here. I'm going to be facing off against good friend Aerocrastic and showing off some new Dark Elves. So we've got Crone Hellebron today going on a wagon train with a Scream Tank caboose. Yes, this thing has been officially deemed the Scream Tank. The Bloodrack Shrine here, of course, comes with its melee aura debuffs. Hellebron's got her goodies, and I figured the double chariot. I run a similar build with the Empire with Volkmar and a steam tank. I figured, hey, why not try it with them? We've got some Dread Spears, also got plenty of Scourge Runner chariots, and some Dark Riders kind of scattered up and around. Sorceress to summon some Manticores, and yeah, that's pretty much it. For Aerocrastic's High Elves here, going to be led by Elithnar, who definitely won out on Picture Day, in my opinion at least. Shadow Warriors, yeah, 3 Shadow Warriors. He's got several Lothern Seaguard as well. Frostheart Phoenix and a unit of Dragon Princes. Only 2 units of White Lions for proper infantry, although, of course, Lothern Seaguard can definitely handle themselves. But, yeah, right now, Elithnar providing some counterfire on those Scourge Runners. He will definitely trade very efficiently in this type of a situation. I'd imagine Handmaidens would also be pretty decent, at least on foot, at taking on those Scourge Runner chariots. Not 100% sure about that, but anyway, you can see I'm just kind of patiently maneuvering my way up and around, trying to get into a good position to get a full surround. Arrow's going to push forward and start to engage some of my isolated infantry here with his Dragon Princes and that Phoenix, which is a pretty good play. I am eating a ton of bowfire here in these Dread Spears, but honestly that's fine. They're not shooting my chariots, which are a lot more of a high value unit, so I'm totally fine with the Dread Spears getting pancaked and filled full of arrows and generally frozen. It's just not a good day to be one of these guys. They're going to get cleaned up pretty good, but that does leave me in a position here to pull my chariots back, and I'm able to kind of use the range to my advantage here. Start to pick off some of these models of Dragon Princes. You can see a model down already. And keep in mind, of course, those Dragon Princes can't heal their unit models. The Lore Master does have that Earth Blood for healing, but we managed to get the Dark Riders into a position here where we can engage some of these Lothern Seaguard. Although I would definitely lose this fight normally, we're going to drop the buff from Hellebron, and just because of the isolation here, we will actually be able to just mop up 2 units of Lothern Seaguard just about. Pretty good. And then, of course, Hellebron and the Scream Tank coming through. Super heavy. And, yeah. Of course, the new Dark Elf Lord, or the new Dark Elf Lord, Malice, obviously, going to be getting a lot of love, I'm sure, but Lokir and Hellebron and obviously all the other Dark Elves also got some nice buffs as well, and this is a one I had been wanting to try out in particular. Again, run something similar with Volkmar and a steam tank, so figured this might be pretty decent against the High Elves, and it's working so far. We're doing pretty decently, but I am taking quite a bit of damage from those missiles, just kind of persistently. But now that I've got his Dragon Princes mostly cleaned up, I should be cutting loose with my chariots a little bit more, but you can see I'm trying to maneuver away here as I'm being kind of chased by those Dragon Princes there. Not the best, but the Summoned Manticore is now in a position to start making a difference as the troops come from the hill there. Shadow Warriors trying to pour in some fire as they retreat there, but the terror is going to be a lot for them, obviously. Especially from these 3, now soon to be 4, terror-causing units all in this area as well. Dark Riders coming in for a nice little push on those Shadow Warriors there. And the Phoenix also providing some terror routes on my troops, which is not the best. I'm going to start to use my Scourge Runner chariots in more anti-infantry role now, though. Now that we've mostly got rid of those Dragon Princes, I believe they're pretty much done for at this point. But I am going to make a little bit of a mistake here in not trying to separate these guys out a little bit. You can see I'm actually chasing with the Bloodrack and with Hellebron chasing some of these units off here, and I'm going to overcommit with these chariots to this chase a little bit, whereas you can see there's several units of these tattered Lothern Seaguard. I mean, granted, this Phoenix is still hanging around as well, but with these tattered units of Lothern Seaguard, I just really don't want them to be able to get good concaves in the late game, but instead I'm going to let them kind of get resecured, continue to use up their ammunition here, and unfortunately I get my Scream Tank super isolated here. She is going to 360 no-scope the Phoenix as it comes in, but is the Phoenix actually going to drop here? Looks like a Spirit Leech from the Lore Master there will do a little bit of damage, obviously. But, ooh, nice 360 no-scope again. And it's not going to take much. I mean, the shrines, and even like Helebron and her chariot, doesn't have the most HP in the world, right? So the fact that Elithnar is still alive, he's got plenty of ammo. He can kind of continue to chip away here. And again, these Lothar and Seaguard are going to be super key in this late game as well. But it's still very close on the balance of power. I've still got these chariots to continue to try and cycle charge. Helebron's about half HP. And that Moonbow actually comes in, does some good damage there on that Bloodrack Shrine, but anytime we can, we're going to try and use the Breath Attack to just las the Frostheart Phoenix there. Frostheart Phoenixes, you definitely want to try and save to the end of the battle. Usually, it's just because they're kind of tank-type units, right? They have good melee defense for a monster, flying monster especially. They have higher armor, right? They get that damage resistance buff often as well. So, they're just, in general, a pretty strong tanky unit, I would say. So you don't necessarily want to be focusing your resources on them. But you can run into a situation like this here in the late game where I don't quite have enough missiles. You can see I've just about used up the ammo on the Scream Tank. And all of the Scourge Runner chariots are out of ammo as well. And I haven't finished off that Frostheart. So it's a pretty rough situation. And as well, this Lothar and Seaguard that I failed to clean up earlier is going to come in and do some key missile damage in the late game here on that Bloodrack Shrine, getting some nice little bursts there, along with some regrouped Lothar and Seaguard down here on the low ground, and that's enough to actually finish off the Bloodrack Shrine. Maybe it'll come back. Nope, that volley's probably going to do it. Yeah, there's no way it's coming back. 140 HP. I finally realized I should have cleaned up those Lothar and Seaguard a while ago, so we're going to get back here with these chariots. And things are still looking pretty even. I mean, I've still got Helebron alive for the time being, although she is going to take a few bad RNG hits here from the Lore Master. We'll do some good damage in return, but a nice rear charge from the Frostheart Phoenix. I'm going to get the Sorceress Lore of Beasts in there to try and karate chop the Phoenix, and we're just going to stand and fight with Helebron. No reason really to try and pull away and out of this engagement. But yeah, even with that magic resistance, she's got that heavy magic resistance of 47%. That Spirit Leech is still just barely going to be enough with the arrows to bring her down, and yeah, down she goes. And it's interesting too because the Frostheart Phoenix again does magic damage, and Helebron on this chariot with the high magic resistance, you know, I guess when I had her isolated up here and kind of chasing those routing units, shouldn't have honestly been worried about getting gooned by the Frostheart Phoenix because of that magic resistance. And again, I definitely should have used those Scourge Runners to clean up some of these pattered archer units that ended up playing very key in the late game. But that's just how it goes. You know, Warhammer is absolutely a game of inches. When you're up against a great player like Aerocrastic, those small things definitely add up. And I'm sure Aerocrastic, if he casts the game, could point out, you know, things that he could improve on as well. Certainly, everyone can find those things in every game, just about. But yeah, I mean, for this build, I think if I had played it a little bit better, it probably could have worked out okay. So the Helebron wagon train with the Scream Tank caboose only going to be coming at you soon. But we'll fast forward a little bit through this late game as I'm gonna try and use these chariots to charge out a win. We do manage to finally get rid of the Frostheart. Comes back. And you can see we're just trying not to get terrified, basically. And the Scream Tank finally decides to run away. You have a handful of Dark Riders here, and I'm way over chasing with these Dread Spears. Definitely should have brought them back a while ago. But yeah, at a point it gets to where I just have chariots left. And yeah, I mean, I could technically like cycle charge them from one target to the other here, but it's going to take forever. And, you know, Aerocrastic's my friend. I don't want to do that to him. So we're just gonna let these chariots die in melee to these two high elf heroes. And Elithnar and the Swordmaster taking home the win there. So how about that? Very fun stuff. Big thanks to Aerocrastic for that one. And yeah, like I said, run similar builds with Empire and have had some success. The Scourge Runners, it's interesting. You know, with the 4 Dark Riders, I would almost think maybe, yeah, the Scourge Runners are fine. You almost need more like bodies of cavalry sometimes to tie down skirmishers properly. So maybe you want to mix in like 1 or 2 units of Cold One Knights. But yeah, I guess you could sort of bring some more elite infantry as well in this build and really try and take advantage of Helebron fighting with the Bloodrack Shrine and kind of a little death blob. That would also work pretty well, so definitely some minor variations, but I do think that this build, even as constructed, would be very, very effective against the High Elves, probably against the Skaven as well, because again, that magic resistance, missile resistance from Helebron makes her surprisingly tanky against the Skaven, and obviously the Terror is a big issue as well, so potentially, I mean, she's still probably going to get killed by stuff like just hails and rattling guns, but it is what it is. And yeah, Lithnar, big winner on picture day, love his icon, and yeah, taking home the win there. Very fun build from Aerocrastic, not something you see every day, that kind of lighter infantry core, but certainly Dark Elves are weak to that mass bowfire because they generally are lower on armor, and you know, high elf bows have good enough AP values that they can generally deal with the armored units mass fire anyway. So yeah, pretty fun stuff. I've got one more build to show you from me and Arrow, so let's get to it. In honor of the Chariot update, because this update has a lot to do with chariots, we've got the Chariot Lord himself ready to face off against the Dark Elves. I'm taking Tomb Kings against Arrow here. So I've got some new and improved sepulchral stalkers, including the Eyes of the Desert, 2 Shabti Great Bows with some Nekar Horsemen, Skeleton Chaff to support, and Cetra on his... I don't even know. Words cannot describe that chariot, honestly. The chariot of the gods, right? The skeleton horseman here, just on the low ground, trying to provide some pressure, potentially in the back line. For Arrow, he's got a couple shades here. Looks like bleak swords. Just Dark Elf Militia up front. 1 unit of Blackguard to be led by Malice. He's got a Fire Sorcerer here, and a couple of Scourge Runner chariots as well. So a decently well-balanced Dark Elf build. You can see I've already been taking chunks out of those Blackguard there. And the Shabti Great Bows will trade very nicely into the Scourge Runner chariots. They are more or less a hard counter to the Scourge Runner chariots. You can do quite a bit of counterfire damage, and yeah, you see the big bolts coming in there, just doing a huge amount of burst damage. So you can fell models relatively easily, but an excellent Burning Head going to be coming down from Arrow. Does hit some of his own units, yeah, but the Blackguard, because of their higher armor, aren't going to be punished nearly as badly as the skeletons here, obviously, and those skeletons just straight up disintegrate, which is bad for me. That being said, we've still got Cetra online, and this kind of allows us to get some nice volleys there. You can see the Sepulchral Stalkers don't need a whole lot to get, if they can get open just for a little bit of time there, they can take out those Scourge Runners. So I am focus firing a little bit over much here, but now that unit is shattered, I should be focusing elsewhere. You can see these Skeleton Horsemen getting in the back line here. Maybe should have waited until Murderous Prowess wore off there, but at the same time, I wanted to shut down these shades and just keep them from firing while that was active. And I'm going to try and pull away here and not necessarily give a fight to Malice and these Blackguard. It does look like the Eyes of the Desert, unfortunately, going to be thrown back in there to try and hold, but yeah. Should have probably been targeting Malice there, though the breath attacks from I say breath attacks, the Sepulchral Stalker's missile attacks I find are best used against single entity targets. Yeah, Tomb Scorpion has gotten a decent amount of kills so far, probably got an XP Chevron, but has taken quite a bit of damage as well. The Shabti Summon's also going to be used to try and pressure these shades, but I almost wonder if I shouldn't have used it to try and finish off this unit of Blackguard here that's very low, maybe get an isolation on Malice, and force him to pop Zarkan if we get a good surround with the Shabti, potentially. Could be done, but as it is right now, Cetra playing bumper cars in the back with the Scourge Runners, letting them know who the true master of chariots is. Going to be continuing to ride through. Let's check in on his kill total. 53 kills so far, and he should be able to rack up plenty more. Another nice Burning Head here, going to punish me for overblobbing my units, and probably will disintegrate both of those. And Arrow does a great job here of using on a unit that's already low on health and leadership, so he can actually use it to trigger disintegration, which is not something that's easy to do. But yeah, we've got these Shabti Great Bows online, able to continue firing. Unfortunately, my Eyes of the Desert have taken a lot of damage, but the second unit of the Sepulchral Stalker is pretty healthy. Come in for a good charge and going to try and rout off these Blackguard. You can see I'm also focusing the Scourge Runners here, of course, seeing if I can get them off the field. But yeah, you can see I'm going to turn here and take some shots at these Dark Riders, and they do okay. They'll down a few models, certainly, but I probably should have thrown that whole volley again at Malice here, because I need to try and force him to try and use his Zarkan form as soon as possible. Basically, that's kind of the game plan if you're up against Malice, is to try and force him to pop it prematurely, basically. But at this point, we do have a bit of a grind fight going, as I'm going to continue to be able to run around with Cetra with more or less impunity, and I do have some Ushabti Greatbows who can't really be caught by the Dark Elves. I do make a pretty big mistake here. I saw these Blackguard, and I'm like, my Ushabti Greatbows, they can probably beat those Blackguard, right? But no, in fact, I'm going to just get totally destroyed by RNG. I mean, granted, these Ushabti, because they don't actually have an anti-infantry bonus, are going to be at minimum base to hit, more or less. I want to say is, what, 8% chance to hit against these Blackguard? Not quite, but pretty close. Yeah, as a result, they're actually going to lose a lot more health than what I was comfortable with. These ones as well, starting to get some crumbling in. And yeah, Eyes of the Desert long gone, but should be able to get some good hits. Ooh, the Scorpion going to go down, though. And that's another pretty big loss there, as I'm going to lose one of my sources of terror. But, ooh, that immediate volley comes in and just does a huge amount of burst damage right to Malice's face. So, yeah, you can see there why I was saying I should have been shooting at him earlier when I had sort of open looks to try and shoot Malice specifically, because that final little burst there might have been able to actually force him to trigger that ability. But I mean, it's certainly still very close. 5 minutes of slugging and charging and chariot fun, and Cetra is still online with 109 kills, and the Sepulchral Stalker is getting that incantation of protection. Some nice extended effect duration just to try and make sure they don't take any damage from those Dark Riders or other units as they pull away. And going to be focusing the Ushabti on Sarkhan, so we'll kind of watch him in the background as Cetra does his thing. Cetra definitely approves of the new Scourge Runner chariots, just, you know, only if he gets at least 4 to have for his collection. And they are, of course, marked as clearly inferior to his Chariot of the Gods, but yeah. I do like the new Scourge Runners quite a bit. It gives Dark Elves a nice little utility unit that I think will be good in a number of matchups. It does still get kind of hard countered by like cannons and Ushabti Greatbows and things like that. But you can certainly try and work around that if you have an appropriate build. For myself, Cetra up to 155 kills and still climbing. In a late game situation like this, he is just so dangerous if you don't have any mobility to try and shut him down. I'm going to actually just direct charge Malice here. He pops the blood price, and that is also going to damage himself, but does get the damage resistance from that volley from the Sepulchral Stalkers. But will the damage to himself actually be enough to force the Sarkhan for him? Keep in mind as well, I believe when Sarkhan actually pops here, he's going to get a giant power spike. But you can see I'm aiming at him with the Ushabti Greatbows. Arrow realizes, like, I might just get one-shotted here. And look at the balance of power shift when Sarkhan gets summoned, or transformed, rather. And so basically my only hope now is to try and kite out Sarkhan and just hope that he dies. But he's, what, just as fast? No, he's slower than Cetra, so I should be able to get away here. But Cetra is exhausted, and Malice starts out, what, fresh? Or, yeah, Sarkhan starts out fresh, I believe. So he is going to be operating at full speed. I'm having to throw in the Sepulchral Stalkers here to bog him down. And he gets a nice Flaming Sword of Ruin here from that Fire Mage. Looks like he also did the Bloodstorm. Get that damage resistance buff. I am able to rout off quite a few of those infantry units, but paid a price on my Sepulchral Stalkers, and you can see that balance of power not looking good for me at this point. If I could kite out Malice, I could probably bring this back. I just don't think I have enough leeway at this point to even try. But we're going to give it our best shot. Cetra's going to keep riding dirty. Try and get on Malice over there. Malice comes in and just absolutely crumbles those last Sepulchral Stalkers, unfortunately. And you can see with that, it's not looking great in terms of the balance of power. And, of course, I'm going to promptly hit Cetra with multiple friendly fire bolts, and then I'll lose, which is kind of sad. If I had been able to continue kiting, actually, and shooting with the Ushabti Greatbows, maybe once Sarkhan fell away, I would have been able to pull out the win there. But a very close game, super well played on both games, actually. 2-Arrow, they were both very, very close, very fun to play as well. And yeah, I'm liking the new Sepulchral Stalkers. I did misuse them a little bit there. You got to be careful of their short range and kind of weird line of sight issues, but if you can get open looks, you can get some hilarious damage in very, very quickly. I don't have a ton of ammo, but I like these guys now as a backline protector unit. Yeah, as far as the rest of the build goes, I might just go Maybe even with a couple more skeleton horsemen. I don't know. The skeleton spears, just having this much chaff is nice. Gives Cetra plenty of space and time to work with to rack up kills, which he does. And he did 211 kills. How about 156, though, for that Sorcerer's Lore Fire? Some excellent burning heads there. 21 for Malice himself. And yeah, Scourge Runner's doing decently. The Blackguard kind of got stepped on a little bit there. But such is the way of the Elite Halberd in some situations. And yeah, the Scourge Runners, even though they did get kind of countered by the Ushabti Great Bows there, they were still able to hang around enough. And I mean, certainly they were occupying the Ushabti from shooting at someone like Zarkan, right? Or shooting the Blackguard or whatever. So very fun stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button. I have a link to Arrow's YouTube and Twitch down in the comments below, so be sure to go check him out if you haven't already. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.